Good afternoon, YouTube. Nike TV is on the move again.
Talk to me.
Today I have my sisters with me. Say hi, y'all.
Hello.
Today we're headed to the crime locations of Timothy Ray Jones Sr., who killed his 5 children in Lexington, South Carolina. Come along with us as we retrace his steps and show you where this horrific crime took place. So we have made it back to the town of Lexington, South Carolina. We're going to attempt to find the home where the murders were carried out. I'm not sure whether or not it was bulldozed or if it's still there. But if it is, we're going to take you on location.
This was terrible. Ain't no way a road should have me clutching my pearls. Tiffany, I can't let go of the door. Me?
So we are in the general vicinity. Apparently there's a bunch of no trespassing signs out here. You really can't get to the house. It's not accessible. We found the mailbox. We found the general area, but to get to the house, I mean, the roads were bumpy. I'm going to try to include a little bit of the footage. I really wanted to show you guys the actual house where the murders occurred, but it doesn't look like we're going to be able to do that. I mean, the terrain is so rocky and steep. We barely made it down. We barely made it back up, but we are on the way to the cemetery, so hopefully we'll have better luck. The facts of this case, as I'm about to explain them to you, are all media based. Yes, Timothy Jones Jr. was incarcerated at Broad River Correctional Institution, the last institution I worked at in the Department of Corrections, but I never met him as he was on death row, and I only went to death row once. I never got to see him. So all of my sources come from the media and what I could garner online. Back in 2014, Timothy Ray Jones Jr. murdered his 5 children, Mira, Natan, Elias, Gabriel, and Elaine. He then went to Walmart and bought a whole bunch of materials to dismember the bodies. Once he did that, he placed them all in 5 separate trash bags, and then he drove to Alabama. After he drove to Alabama, he discarded the children's bodies on a hill before going to his parents' house. He was actually stopped, which is how he was caught. He was caught and the bodies were taken back to South Carolina. He was interrogated and he eventually did confess to killing the children. And he stated that he had only killed Natan at first. He actually exercised him to death because Natan had allegedly broken an outlet, but he wouldn't tell his father why. He wouldn't tell him what happened. So in a rage, Timothy made him exercise for about an hour. And he said he came back and the little boy was deceased. After that, for whatever reason, he went to the other children's beds where they were sleeping and he choked Mira as well as Mira and Elias. But Gabriel and Elaine's necks were so small, he had to use a belt. So he killed all of the children. And then he was taken to the Lexington County Detention Center where he was formally charged with the murders. He would not be able to be kept in the Lexington County Detention Center, however, because they feared for his safety, because the case was just so high profile. It was so horrific that they knew if they would have left him in jail, that he would have eventually died. Someone would have taken him out. So they sent him to the Department of Corrections, and he was on safekeeper status, which means he's not actually a Department of Corrections inmate. He's just there under the watchful eye because he's a little more isolated. He finally went to court, and he tried to plead insanity. He tried to plead all types of things. They didn't think he was competent to stand trial, but eventually he was determined to be competent to stand trial. And long story short, he was given the death penalty, and he is now on death row at the Broad River Correctional Institution in Columbia, South Carolina. I did work there, but I never saw him. I didn't go down to death row much. I was supposed to be a death row caseworker, but that didn't end up panning out. So I was mainly in general population, but he was there. I have it on good authority and from some friends that he was a very jokey man. Like, he did not act like his fate was that he was about to be electrocuted or given lethal injection. He keeps his wits about him. He doesn't seem to have any remorse. He's a very, I don't know how to describe him, but what he did was terrible. I mean, terrible is not even the word. That was 5 children. You know, you'd already killed one. I don't understand why he didn't stop there, but when he talks about it, he talks about it as if he's explaining to you how to make a recipe. And I'll insert some clips, if I can, to let you guys hear his confession and what he said while he was in court and what he said to the detectives. It's going to make you sick.
I'll try to help you out. That's what you guys promised.
Promised a good burial for your children. We talked about when you picked your children up Thursday, which would have been August 28th. You picked them up from school that day, and something happened that night. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, can you walk us through what happened?
I questioned Natan about 4 outlets that he blew. After a series of not getting any favorable responses out of him, I tried to use more harsh measures to just try to get out of him what was going on, because I didn't know what he was doing. I seen 4 destroyed outlets. Is it for me, him? Was he curious? I just didn't know what was going on, and I was trying to make sense of it. I worked him too hard, or maybe it was a combination of the electricity. I know electricity takes electrolytes out of your body. Something happened. It was out of the ordinary, and he wouldn't tell me. If I would have known it, I mean, I would have gotten medical help and whatnot, but I don't know what he did, and he didn't tell me. I didn't see any burn marks on his body, so that's why I didn't rush him to the hospital. So after the fact, he was deceased.
And then what happened to him? How did he get deceased? What did you do?
I sent him to bed after I worked him real hard because he wouldn't answer me.
And what do you mean by working him too hard?
I just PT'd his ass till he couldn't handle it. Tried cracking him on butt a couple times to get something out of him to tell me what was he doing.
Right.
What's his motive?
And when you're saying PT, and what are we talking about?
Squats and push-ups.
Squats, push-ups. And how long were you having them PT?
I'm PT like an hour. Like I said, there's nothing out of the ordinary. Those kids would do insanity with me. We had fun doing it.
And where did he go from? You're doing this where in the house? Where you PTing?
This was in the living room, and then I finally got tired of it and sent him to bed.
Okay.
His to bed. You're not telling me the truth. I can't help you. Go to bed, man. You're wasting everybody's time.
And then you find out what?
I come back and find out that he's deceased. And when I find out he's deceased, then the shit hits the fan and all.
How does the shit hit the fan, Tim?
The voices start going off, and then here comes the paranoia. Oh shit! What just happened? What just happened? This ain't gonna go. I can't call. Blah, blah. I got all these voices running through my head now.
And then what happens, Tim? What did you tell us earlier? So Natan was dead, and then what happened?
And then I followed suit with the other 4.
And how did you kill them?
That was with my hands.
With your hands? Can you describe what you mean by with your hands?
Around their neck.
Around their neck? Okay. Who was next?
I'm just gonna put the order so I don't have to go into too much detail.
Okay, just tell us the order.
Natan, Mira, Elias, Gabriel. Wait. Natan, Eli, Mira, Gabriel, Elaine.
And when did you say this was, Tim? What date? You told us earlier.
Thursday, I think. They were supposed to go to school Friday and they didn't go because, well, they couldn't go.
Yeah. And you said also that this happened where?
At the house.
Can you tell me what that address was?
2155B, South Lake
Also,
Drive.
his babysitter, Joy Lorick, kind of describes his dynamic with the children. It was weird if you ask me. But I also have some clips of that. So I don't know what else to say. But we weren't able to find the home. I mean, we found the general area. And it looks like a man of his caliber who would be living in that area. Those poor children, they did not deserve that. They did not deserve their living conditions. I mean, y'all agree? It's horrible down there. Like, that road is rocky. It's just, it's awful. And then, like I said, the Find a Grave pages for the children, they were so vague that when we got there, we went to two different cemeteries. One was the Red Bank Cemetery, which we mistaked for the Red Bank Baptist Church Cemetery. But either way, we did not find them. And according to Mira's Find a Grave page, it says that she was cremated. So I don't know why she would have been cremated while the other children were buried. But everyone else says that they were buried there. But we couldn't get anyone at the church. We did see some cars parked there, but nobody came to the door, so there was no way to verify. Like I said, we called the funeral home to see if they had any information, but the director was in a funeral, so he's not going to get back to me until tomorrow, and by that time this video will be edited and up. So we tried. Okay, so the GPS took us to the wrong place. It took us to
have been there for
centuries.
Like, seriously.
They took us to Red Bank Methodist Church when we're supposed to be at Red Bank Baptist Church. That is Red Bank Cemetery that we were at. But it's definitely not the place where the children are, because this is not the Baptist Church. So since we're about 9 minutes away, we're going to trudge on and see if we can make it, but that wasn't it. Made it to our destination, and there is a barking dog who desperately wants to be in the video, but he's not about to stop anything. So it took us to, like I said, the wrong place first. We were at a cemetery where people died centuries ago. I mean, they buried so many infant children out there. It was almost eerie. But we're here, and this one's a little bigger, but we'll update you. You know, it was still very fun trying to find those locations, but we couldn't get within an inch of that house. And the graveyard, forget it. We searched everywhere. We might have seen 2 or 3 Joneses, but definitely not. I hate to say it, but it seems like this whole entire trip was a bust. We went to the vicinity of the house, couldn't get there. We went to the cemetery. It says at least a portion of the children are buried. I'm sorry for that interruption. You guys hear my GPS, but funeral home who handled the bodies, and I spoke with a nice gentleman by the name of Steve. He said that
use the left 2 lanes to turn onto North Lake Drive.
He said he remembers them having a service, but he couldn't be sure if they were actually buried out there. We are going to go to the location of another crime that happened here in the Midlands, where a young man killed both of his parents. So we're on the way to see if we can get on that property. Hopefully it's in like a subdivision. It's not like just like a, you know, just a single home out there, but we're gonna go see if we can get there. It looks like they were buried in Goose Creek, South Carolina. So we're not going to be able to go to the gravesite, but we can at least see the crime scene. So we're gonna try to make some kind of good out of this trip, kind of salvage it a little bit. Kevin Jackson Westbury, 27, of Columbia, is charged with 2 counts of murder and possession of a weapon during a violent crime. According to arrest warrants, he is being held in the Lexington County Detention Center. Lexington County Coroner Margaret Fisher identified the victims as Sabrina Jackson Westbury, 60, and Kenneth Wayne Westbury, 59, of Columbia. Police went to the home on New Park Place Thursday night after we received a call to conduct a welfare check. Lexington County Sheriff Jay Coons said, deputies found the bodies of Mr. and Mrs. Westbury inside the house. Deputies immediately detained the son, who was at the home at the time of the welfare check. This is the house where the young man murdered both his parents. Very close to home. You just never know. This is the area. My sister just made a good point. Did the neighbors hear anything? Because these houses are really, really close together. Like, it's not as though you can hear a pin drop and it'll go unnoticed in the next house. I mean, that's how close together these houses are. It just goes to show you, you know, you never know what's going on. You're at home minding your business, just chilling, and things like this are taking place right in the vicinity. I'm told that his brother still lives in the house, and I'm not sure how true that is because the house is definitely still occupied. That's why my sisters were in a rush to get out of the area. And it was kind of awkward. You know, you don't want to be disrespectful, but...
It's so fresh.
Yes.
So
also, there was a young man who was playing with a gun right before Christmas. Him and his friend. And the gun accidentally went off, I'm sure. And one of the young men were killed, and my sister actually lives in that area, so I'm going to go over there and see if we can see the location, see if there's anything significant that stands out. We're just going to make this kind of a mashup video since we weren't able to find the house and the cemetery. Well, we found the cemetery, but we weren't able to find the grave site. So we're just going to kind of just add to this video, just go around in the nearby area and see how many cases we can think of, because I really feel like I want to put this video out, but we did not reach our goal.
everything has been a dead end.
Dead end. Absolutely right. A 13-year-old is dead after a shooting in a Columbia apartment complex around 11 p.m. Sunday, according to the Columbia Police Department. The Columbia Police Department says they believe a 13-year-old male and a young friend were handling a firearm at Harbison Garden Apartments when the incident occurred. Investigators are now looking for answers on how the teen had access to the Harbison Garden Apartments where the young man was killed. I don't know the exact location where it was. They're not giving out much information, but this is the apartment complex where it all occurred. There are a lot of young men just walking the property, and it kind of brings you back to that moment where you start to wonder, what was the mentality of those kids playing with guns? Where did they get the guns from? That's just so tragic for 13-year-olds to be playing with weapons, and this is the outcome. So to make this day not a total bust, we're gonna go in the video game store. But we just hit dead ends at every turn, so. Right here on St. Andrews Road in Columbia, South Carolina. Firefly Games. It's a pretty cool place. People come in here and play games, and apparently you can buy all the old game consoles. This seems like a fitting restoration to a bust of a day. Let's see what we can find. I want a Nintendo. Got a Super Nintendo for $140. They got the original PlayStation for $75. Look at that, all these games. The PSP games. Nintendo. This is like the coolest place I've ever seen.
Do they have a Nintendo 64 like that?
No, they have a, I don't know what that is, Panasonic.
Ain't never heard that.
Xbox 360 for $140. They even got like kids games.
You can talk about that?
When you can. Look at that. It's not just about video games. They got all types of things. Jenga, Uno, Pokino, Flash, I don't know what that is. Jenga. Juggling Tower, I don't know. Domino Creations. road trip bingo. Family goes on a lot of road trips. I'm sure we will enjoy that. The Squishables. A friend of mine was looking for this thing in the mall.
First edition life game.
They got them in here. What is it?
First edition life game.
Pull it out. The first edition life game. We got a lot of cool stuff in here. Monopoly Queen. Aurora. What else? Oh, look. Bob Ross Monopoly.
What? It's really stupid.
The Sopranos.
I guess you just gotta learn how to run the game. This is so cute.
I have a friend who loves different types of Monopolies.
Oh, that's cute.
She would have a ball in here.
Uno Move.
SpongeBob SquarePants edition. I'd be surprised if she doesn't have all of these games already. Now this is where you hit pay dirt. That's where you go in there and play all the arcade games.
Can we go in?
Let's see if we can get in there. That's pretty cool. It's a whole arcade. There's stuff right here in the area that you don't know about unless you venture out. There's nobody in here, so I wonder, but there's a better look. Okay, guys, we have reached the end of our journey, me and my blue mouth, from this Sonic Ocean Water slush. It still was a good day. We had a nice, productive day. It did. Oh my gosh, we was at the grave sites for the longest and still came up with nothing.
Nada.
Well, it's okay.
It was productive though.
It was productive. We had fun just journeying around Columbia and Lexington. So maybe we'll do this again once we figure out another topic. So we're gonna consider this more of a vlog than a murder on the move. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Go ahead and smash that like button. Comment, subscribe. Let me know how you felt about this one. And we'll definitely see you on the next one. Thanks to my sisters for joining me. It was fun. Bye. See y'all later.